Somos almas hambrientas buscando un espacio. Desplieguen sus alas, mis calos y calas. Esterarte, imposible no amarte. Imposible no amarte. Hello, brothers and sisters. Let's continue reading this book about Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe in her own words. And now this chapter we're gonna read about man. A career is a wonderful thing, but you can't snuggle up to it on a cold night. Shortly before her death, Marilyn Monroe met the Mexican scriptwriter Jose Bolanos. He was one of her last lovers. I didn't know about that. He isn't at all handsome. None of my men are, but he has unbelievable manners, and he's the greatest lover in the whole wide world. I hear he makes some of the worst movies in Mexico. See the romances. But what do I care? Everything else he does is incredible. He asked me to marry him. I can't believe it. And I don't know what to say. I mean, well, we haven't really talked about it. What Jose thinks of my career, where he wants to live. He's even more jealous than Joe. He might want me to get out of movies too. Wouldn't that be something? And what if I had to live in Mexico? What am I going to do? I love him. If I could have only worked out with Joe, why didn't it? It's insane. Two people who love each other and won't get married. Maybe if I wait, Joe will. But if he doesn't, then Jose might leave. And there I am again, with zero, and getting older every day. Joe doesn't think any man can love me except him. He's my best friend in the world. I don't want to lose him. I don't want to lose Jose. I don't want to lose anyone. Oh, help me, somebody. It's better to be unhappy alone than unhappy with someone so far. You know, they talk a lot about animal magnetism. I think Marlon Brando has it without even doing anything. But the most interesting thing about Marlon is his sensitivity. He's really trying to discover himself. He wants to know what's behind everything, even when he's talking to you. When he acts on stage, he's constantly searching. I don't know if he's trying to find himself or the person he's talking to, but he's always searching. He moves magnificently. You don't think of him walking because he moves like a dancer. I think he's trying to understand everything that exists. It's unusual, especially in a young man. After she'd been to bed with Marlon Brando, she said to Milton Green in the next day, I don't know if I do it the right way. Marilyn Monroe was once asked what she didn't like about men. Nothing that I can think of. Marilyn had heard that Montgomery Clift was a homosexual, but the notion of a man sleeping with another man struck Marilyn as incredibly weird. She knew he was good friends with Elizabeth Taylor. He was good friends with Elizabeth Taylor. Monty needs a woman to love him, just like I need someone. He could have any girl in the world. I bet he sleeps with Elizabeth. I bet he does. Why her? Marilyn Monroe tried to seduce Clift, but all he did was to tell her she had a most incredible ass, and then he left. I give up. I tried. Boy, I tried. You know, I kinda doubt that he does anything with Elizabeth Taylor either. I think I was wrong about that. He's a mess, but I still love him. Via Joe's shrink, Marilyn Monroe came into contact with Harry Cohn, a studio boss at Columbia. He let her make one film, Ladies of the Chorus. Joe, Shrink, was like Clark Gable by comparison. Mr. Cohn wasn't even the kind who said hello first. He just told you to get in bed. For him, women were slaves. There's another sort of man I've never liked. The sort that's afraid of insulting you. They always end up by insulting you worse than anybody. I much prefer a man to be a wolf and, if he has decided to make a pass at me, to make it and have it over with. I hope Clark Gable won't hold it against me if I say that I saw him as my father. I was only a kid, and according to Freud, there's no harm in that. On the contrary, I dreamed that my father looked like him, or even that he was my father. Which reminds me, it's odd, but I never dreamed anyone was my mother. He never got angry with me once for blowing a line or being late or anything. He never raised his voice, lost his temper. He was a gentleman, the best. Men who think that a woman's past love affairs lessen her love for them are usually stupid and weak. A woman can bring a new love to each man she loves, provided there and not to men. Proven there and not to men. Any woman who knows with John Huston can't help falling in love with him, at least the first time she is with him. I remember my first audition. You can be completely at ease with him. It was my first big part. I was terribly nervous. I felt that if I could take off my shoes, I would feel better. He said to me, "Please, go ahead." In that scene, I was supposed to be lying on a couch, but there was no couch. So I asked if I could lie down on the floor. He said, "Yes." So I did. Then I wanted to play the scene once more. I felt I could do it a lot better. He said, "It's not necessary." I said, "Please." He sat down very patiently, and I played the whole scene over again. He told me that he'd given me the part the first time round. It was the asphalt jungle. I think the most interesting scene in the film was cut out because of the brain office. It was because of the angle he'd chosen. No, I won't say any more about it. It was simply the angle. Johnny Hyde told me he had discovered Lana Turner, and now he was discovering me, and that I'd gone even further. That made me dizzy. He was so sweet, but I just couldn't get excited about him as a man. You know, I had all these ideas about tall, dark, and handsome, and all that. He wasn't. He had the best clothes in town, but they were like doll's clothes. I didn't mind doing it, but nothing seemed to excite me. It wasn't him, it was me. But he took it personally, and I had to act like it was the thrill of my life. I wish it had been. Johnny was good, really good to me. He even wanted to get married, but after Jim Dougherty, I just didn't want to get married unless I was a head over heels in love. This wasn't it. Hard than I thought he would break it. Harder than I thought he would break it. I guess it was better than having to kiss him. I just find Jerry Lewis so sexy. You know, I can understand it, but that's how it is. Maybe it's got something to do with his vitality. I think he's got a very nice face. I think he only makes funny faces because that's what people expect. Every time he and Dean Martin see me, they start howling and falling about all over the place, and I love them for it. I met Jerry once on a radio show. It was a rehearsal. He wished me luck and told me that the most important thing for me was not to be too nervous. I think he felt that. What counts isn't what he said to me, but how sincere he was. Despite his rough and ready ways, Robert Mitchum is probably one of the most sensitive people deep down. I knew him on location for River of No Return. We were in Canada for a month and a half. There's so much irony in everything he says. You never lose sight of the truth with him, nor of how things really are. He never dodges an issue. He shocks a lot of people, but what he says is the truth. I think he could be a poet. The chief drawback with men is that they are too talkative. I don't mean intellectual men who are full of ideas and information about life. It's always a delight to hear such a man talk because they are not talking boastfully. The over-talkative men who bore me are the ones who talk about themselves. Sometimes they confine themselves to plain uninterrupted boasting. They'll sit for an hour telling you how smart they are and how stupid everybody else around them is. Sometimes they don't even boast but give you an insight of what they like to eat and what they've been in the last 5 years. Doesn't Eves look like Joe? I love his voice. He's so sexy, wow. And Simone, gosh, she's smart. How can he keep up with her? Oh, I guess he can because they're speaking French. I'm going to learn French. It sounds like more fun than English. Simone's not pretty, and she's older than he is. What did she do to get him? I bet he married her so she'd help him become a big movie star. That had to be it. For his career, well, I can blame him. I mean, it's so hard in movies. You've got to have connections. Anyway, she's really nice. I can tell he looks up to her. She's lucky. Marilyn Monroe made a rather desperate attempt to get Montan to commit himself to her. She booked a hotel room when she wanted to meet him. He tried to be nice. He kissed me and all, but he said the idea of he leaving Simone was ridiculous. That's what he said. Ridiculous. He said he hoped I'd enjoy myself with him, and he told me what a nice time he had had. I was in love, and he was just having a nice time. The last thing he said was that Arthur and I should come visit him and Simone in France. Wouldn't that be something? Why did I fall for him? Oh, why? I think it was when she got the Oscar. I was so jealous. I wanted to say, you got the Oscar, but I've got Ives. Oh, Eves. French. I guess that's the correct pronunciation. Now you know they're gonna be sitting in Paris and laughing their head off at me. We did it. We did it. It was so natural, like we were made for each other. He is a man, tender, sweet, and kind. I don't think I'm the woman for Arthur. He needs an intellectual, somebody he can talk to. He needs someone like Simone, and Eves needs me. I don't think Arthur would care, but Simone, I don't know. I hope. I hope. I find Johalat Nerud very attractive. I've only seen him in pictures. He always catches your eye. I can't describe him. You have to admire him for what he stands for what he is. He's such an outstanding man. He has no limits. He's a thinking man. What he's trying to do, I admire him a lot for that. I'd love to meet him. The truth is, I've never fooled anyone. I've let men sometimes fool themselves. Men sometimes didn't bother to find out who and what I was. Instead, they would invent a character for me. I wouldn't argue with them. They were obviously loving somebody I wasn't. When they found this out, they would blame me for disillusioning them and fooling them. After her divorce from DiMaggio, Marilyn Monroe lived with Frank Sinatra. He didn't ask her to walk around naked with his friends were around, but on one occasion it happened anyway. He hit the roof. Frank slapped his drink down so hard he broke the glass. He yanked me aside and ordered me to get my fat ass back upstairs. How dare I embarrass him in front of his friends? When I tried to tell him that I thought his friends would like me more than their stupid cards, I sobered pretty fast. He looked like he was going to kill me on the spot. I ran back to the bedroom and cried for hours. Here was Frankie being so nice to me, and I let him down. No one in the whole world sweeter than Frankie. When he came back later and kissed me on the cheek, that made me feel like a million. From then on, I always dressed up for him, whether or not anyone was coming over. Marilyn Monroe got the idea that she wanted to marry Frank Sinatra. He's almost ready. She'll never marry me again, never. He loves me, but that's it. We can't agree about the movies. Frankie wouldn't expect me to be a housewife. We can both have our careers. It would be perfect. I hope. Let me be lucky. Just once. But her plans didn't work out. I can't tie him down. No Frankie, but I always love him. Marilyn enjoyed nothing more than a night on the town. Frank Sinatra, however, did not indulge her enthusiasm. He always kept me in the bedroom. Sidney Skasky was a famous Hollywood columnist in the 1950s. Sidney is one of the most interesting people to talk to I know. It may seem strange, but I can spend an hour and a half with him and it seems like 10 minutes. I'm fond of Sidney. When no one paid any attention to me, he'd said to me, "You'll be one of the brightest stars in Hollywood." I didn't even have any work. I wasn't eating. And he was saying these incredible things, like, "You don't believe it, but you do this and that." I met him the first time I was leaving the Fox offices. I didn't even have any work at the time, but I dropped in at the studio to try and land a part. He said to me, "For a girl I never seen on screen, I see more photos of you than of any else. Where are you going to make a picture?" I said, "When I get work." That's how we became friends. He has such a trust in me. After that, I had occasional long talks with him. I always felt I could trust him. I felt I could tell him everything. He probably wouldn't like me to say that he's the fatherly type, so I won't. But he's sweet and I like him very much. The most unsatisfactory men are those who pride themselves on their viril, virility, uh, virility, and regard sex as if it were some form of athletics and which you win cups. It is a woman's spirit and mood a man has to stimulate in order to make sex interesting. The real lover is a man who can thrill you by just touching your head or smiling into your eyes or by just staring into space. Michael Chekhov was one of our drama coaches. First of all, he's a rare human being and a great artist. I don't know which term to use first. He is the nephew of Anton Chekhov, but himself is one of the greatest artists of our time. He's a magnificent actor. Years ago, he was with the Moscow Arts Theater. There's very noble things about him. Recently, he wrote a book and put in everything he's learned about himself as an artist, a writer and a director. It's for young actors and it's called To the Actor. What he's learned, he wants to dedicate to the young. I studied with him in his class and I hope to continue to do so. For a serious person, he has a great sense of humor. I like him. Mary's opinion of Billy Wilder, director of Some Like It Hot, was not enthusiastic. He's not a director, he's a dictator. Well, we finished this part of Marilyn in her words, and next chapter will be looks. So I'm going to show you, of course, as always, the photos of Marilyn, and we'll continue some next time. Thank you, and sorry again for the mistakes. Working really hard to learn how to pronounce it correctly. Bye, brothers and sisters. Well, brothers and sisters, as promised, some of the images that I just read to you here with Marlon Brando. Montgomery Clift, Harry Cohn, here smiling so happy with Clark Gable, another icon of Hollywood, of course. Here's another picture of them and John Huston, who was the father of Angelica Houston. Here's with Johnny Hyde, former President Kennedy and his brother. Dean Martin, Jerry Lewis, Robert Mitchum, with Yves Montand and Frankie Vagan. our interesting fellow here, Frank Sinatra.